And with Mark and your brother, you did lose both of them just in an instant.
Yes.
Whereas with my parents, of course, mom, we didn't know she was sick 2 weeks before she died. That's when we knew she had cancer. So we still had 2 weeks, though. We didn't know at the time we had 2 weeks, but we still had time. And with my dad, we had about a month, I guess, before we really understood what was happening. But to lose someone in an instant like that, I mean, that's, for me, we had what they call anticipatory grief, where you're
Mhm.
anticipating the death, you're anticipating that you didn't have that. So that I think would also affect like your grieving process and your decision making and your thinking and
But I think
all
they're
that.
both hard,
Oh yeah.
right? Like they're
Oh yeah.
equally as hard. I don't think there's a better, like, oh, I'd rather this way happen. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like if I would have had the chance to say goodbye, I think that would almost be harder than not. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
then too, like I did have some of the like anticipating the grief, right? Because Mark was in Iraq. Like you know what could happen. But I had to fight that. Like I had to be like, no, shh. I can't hear that because I can't function if I'm always in the state of, oh God, something happened to him. Right.
Right.
And so that's why I think too, even when they told me like, this and this happened. And I was like, okay, like, no, it didn't, but okay,
Again, it's a mistake.
whatever
Like
you need to tell yourself. But so I'm not sure neither one of them are easy.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and too, like, even with my mom, I mean, doctors, again, we had to deal with doctors, which is, like, a whole other conversation. But, we had the doctors tell us with mom, well, she could have anywhere from 8 weeks to 8 months, and it was 8 days.
Yeah.
So, so we were preparing ourselves and preparing the house for, everyone to be in here for months, and then it was like, "Oh, no, sorry, it's just a week." And then with my dad, I remember he died on Monday, and the hospice nurses came out at lunch on that day and to clean him up and, all of that. And they told me that day, they said, "Oh, it'll probably be another 48 hours. He's in the beginning stages of the body shutting down and all that." So they were like, "It'll probably be about another 48 hours." And it wasn't, it was 2 hours.
Oh,
Like, I mean, like, I had to turn around 2 hours later and call the nurse and be like, he passed away." So,
yeah.
I mean, so even when you have that, it's of course, we think that my dad heard 48 hours and he was like, "I am not laying here for another 48 hours," and just, like, willed himself to die. But, it even if you have even if you're told you have time, you don't. Like, I
Isn't
mean
that one of the weirdest things that you've learned, right? Like everybody thinks they're gonna have time, but time becomes like the most precious thing. I
Mhm.
saw a thing that said something about time is the one account that you spend without ever knowing the balance.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, because the time matters, right?
Mhm.
Like the time matters. And everybody's like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it then. We'll do it next year. We'll do whatever. Like we have plenty of time. And I'm like, funny thing about time, you know,
Girl, like
funny thing about time.
yeah. And that's I mean, that's why Dave and I, that's why we kinda like our conversations about time is because it's so strange, and it just kind of at some point, it really time means everything, and at the same time, it means nothing.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah. I
it's
think you make the most of the time that you need to make the most of, and then you carry those moments. You know what I mean? Like, because you're right. Time is such an irrational function of the world, like, especially after you've lost people, after COVID, after all these things that have happened, right? It becomes such a weird thing. So in the moments where I feel like the important things, the little things, the mundane things, like you said, you know what I mean? Like the phone call or like I heard a song and that made me smile today, or I just got to be outside. I didn't even listen to music. I just walked the dogs, just listened to like the trees rustling and like those mini moments, feet in the
Right.
sand and waves crashing, the rainstorm, like just the little things become so very important. And
Mm.
I've always been a huge believer that the small things are actually the big things, but I think that all just gets like exponentially bigger. But same with time, right? I don't need stuff. Don't get me stuff. I can't get rid of it. You can see,
Right.
maybe
Nobody
that
wants
was
it
that.
anyway.
But I would love the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would love the time because you just never know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, since losing my parents, I have grown a lot closer to friends who were good friends anyway, but
Mhm.
I've grown a lot closer to them because they reached out to me and I've reached out to them. And we've actually, I feel like our relationships have gotten deeper since then
Yeah.
because we see things differently now.
Yeah, your
So,
perspective definitely shifts for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And because, I don't know the next time I'm going to see this friend.
Right.
So I want to, if in that moment I'm thinking about them, I'm going to send them a message and say, hey, I'm just thinking about you.
I
And
do it all
even,
the time. "Hey,
yeah,
you were in my dream 2 days ago. I just need to know you're good. Like, is
right,
everything good?" You know, like,
right.
"Let's catch up soon." You know what I
And
mean?
before I would have never done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things where, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you. You're on my mind. Yeah. It
Because that matters now too, right? Because that's what you need sometimes too. Like,
right.
you need that same thing for somebody to be like, "Hey, I'm thinking about you though." You know, like, I just
Right.
you know what I mean? Went through this, saw this, made me think of you, like, hope everything's good. Those things mean a ton,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You need sometimes that one little text that you'll get from somebody that is enough to like lift my spirits for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Or propel you off the fence, right? When you're
Right.
teetering, like, it propels you in one direction instead of the other, you know?
Right. Yeah, so I told Dave, I said, I call it the pit of despair. That's where I was at my lowest.
Mhm.
And but I never, and I think you said something about this. I never wanted to reach out to anyone because I didn't want to burden them with where I was down in my little pit. You know, I felt like, I can get out of this on my own,
Mhm.
but it actually took a couple of friends like tossing a ladder down to me for me to get out and, slowly move on. But yeah, it was a few people just continuously sending me messages and checking in.
But so those people, though, didn't just toss you the ladder, right? Like, they climbed down the ladder to the pit and said, "All right, like, I've been here too. I recognize where you're at. Like, here's how we get out. Let's go."
Or
You
they
know what
even
I'm saying?
Yeah, or they even knew that I needed a ladder.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, they didn't just toss it down to me. They were like, "Hey, she's gonna need this to get out."
yeah,
And to have some friends like that who just even just once a week. I had this one friend who lives 3,000 miles away, but would send me a text every week. "Hey, you good? Just checking in. Let me know what's going on."
yeah.
And that's just those few little words that mean so much. And I don't think some people realize that. They just sort of, or they don't answer it or they don't see it or whatever, but it just those little texts, those little messages mean so much.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you feel like you don't have a friend in the world, you know
Yeah, well, and those texts don't require you to be like, "I'm not doing so great today. I really feel like, they don't require anything like that. They just it's just like, "Hey, I was thinking about you," and you're like, "Oh, that was really nice." Like, it doesn't require anything from you. It, like, fills
Right.
your cup, but you don't have to pour into anybody else. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I said before, I've got this friend who I mean, we know that we can reach out to each other, but she also knows that some days all I need is a picture of her cat, and that's what she'll send me.
Yeah.
She'll just send me a picture of her cat, and that's our communication. I understand it, and that means the world to me in that moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend, we do Wordle every day, right? I do Wordle, send it to him. He does Wordle, sends it back to me. And that's how like, if we have a conversation after that, then I know we need to have a conversation, but
Right.
every day, that's the way we check in. Like,
Yeah.
"All right, he's good,"
Yeah.
you know?
I think COVID had a lot to do with that too, with everybody checking in on each other. So, but when you're grieving and then you're also in COVID, That's a
I'm sure
whole
that's a special kind of hell. Yeah.
that's yeah. Yeah, that's
Plus, you're surrounded by everything as well, right? Like, it's not even like you were in your own space where you could take a step back. Like, you were I felt that way. That's how I felt with the pictures. That's why
yeah.
I, like, took down all I was like, I can't be surrounded by it anymore," like, I just couldn't. I just couldn't. So, yeah, I
I
imagine that was really hard.
I this lady at the time saw me, and this was probably at Kroger's. She saw me and she was like, again, she asked me how I was doing, and I was like, "I don't know." And she said, "Well, I saw your brother and sister and they're all right."
Oh, yeah.
And what I wanna be like is they're not living in the house.
Yeah.
Like, it's different when you can go back to your own house, to your own families, and you're not in it. When
All the
you're
time.
yeah, when you're
All the time.
in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can imagine you with Mark and his clothes and just, all of that, and that's how it was, like, I couldn't clean out mom's closet for 2 years because every time I would open it, it smelled like her, and I'd have to shut it
Yeah.
back up.
Mark had a storage shed, he put some of his stuff in storage before he deployed, right? And we didn't it took us probably 2 years before we even
Yeah.
got to open the door, didn't wanna do that. I still have his stuff, like, from the military downstairs in foot lockers, like, I have a lot of cards and stuff. I have a CD of the funeral from the church and, like, things like that that I still have that I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm ever gonna do with these things, but, I mean,
And
here they are, but then I wanted them around, like, for a while, it gave me comfort, right? Like, I want them around, and I think now I'm to the point, like, where I want them around, but I want them around on my terms, right? Like, I want them around where I can get to them when I need them, but not where they have to be, like, in my face all the time,
yeah,
y you know?
I did that. I went to Walmart and I bought plastic tote boxes, and I like, a lot of mom's stuff that was sitting around, I couldn't deal with it, I couldn't go through it, but I wanted it
Out of the
out.
way. Yeah.
So I put it in tote boxes. It's in my garage. I've got about 12 of those tote boxes just sitting out there. I gotta go through them at some point, not now, but at some point, they'll have to be gone through. And but yeah, I just wanted it out,
Right.
but I want it
If you wanted it, you could get to it.
right.
Right.
But I don't, and the same with, like, my clothes, especially the clothes that my dad wore a lot there at the end. I just stuffed them in a tote box, and they're upstairs in storage. I
Yeah.
I I don't want to get rid of them. Maybe eventually I will, but, like, right now, I just don't wanna deal with it.
Yeah, my
Um,
brother had clothes at my parents' house, and they donated most of the stuff that they could donate, right? And I kinda got my feelings hurt. I'm like, "What do you mean you donated? It's only been a year and a half." But they were like, "What are we gonna do with it? It
mm,
doesn't fit anybody. Christian doesn't want it." Like, my brother was, like, 6'4". It wasn't nobody else could wear it, but I'm like, "Yeah, but it was Jay." So, it's just I don't know. I mean, I took the stuff that I wanted. I took his jerseys and, like, stuff like that or a hat or a hoodie, and I've probably worn that hoodie I don't know, I could probably count on one hand how many times I've worn that thing. But when I want it, it's there. It's
right.
in the wicker box. It's right there. I know exactly where it is. I can get to it, and I can do it. But it's not out where I have to see it all the time, every time I come and go, like, in the entryway or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on your terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get there, I think, like, where it was my terms and not just what I thought I needed at that time, or where I felt suffocated, but I just deal with it because that's just how it was. So, yeah, I think that's kinda how grief goes, though. I think, I'm trying to deal with it on my terms, but you grow and you change and the grief changes, and then you have to kinda work through it again, and then you figure that part out, and then something else comes, and then it throws a curveball, and life's happening. The world's a crazy place right now. But like I said, it's also what propelled me to be um, a much more resilient person. It's definitely made me question things that I never would have questioned before, including relationships. It's also made me be very introspective. I feel like I know myself very well, good, bad, or indifferent, but I'm very self aware now and there are some things that I appreciate having to go through the hard to get to the other side. But yeah, I wouldn't wish this on absolutely anyone for sure.
No, you never want to wish death or grief or any of what you or I or anybody else has been through. But
Yeah.
I mean,
But it is
unfortunately,
life,
yeah,
right? Here's the
life.
thing. Yeah.
Everybody's going to grieve at some point, no matter what it is.
I
So,
tell Christian all the time, I'm like, I'm so glad that you are so strong and so resilient, but I hate that you have to be. Sometimes I'm like, oh, please just leave him, like, give him a break, because I think everybody gets to that point where you're like, my God, can I just catch a break? So yeah,
I got that way after my dad died, and then my dog started getting sick. He was very attached to my dad, and then he started getting sick, and watching him go downhill,
yeah,
like grieving for my dad, that was just
yeah, I'm
that was
sure.
mind blowing. To you can't explain it to a dog.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I could not explain to him they're not coming back. But yeah, that was a whole other level of loss for me, was losing him, 2 years after I lost my dad.
yeah,
That was when I got to the point of no more. Because I remember when my dog, got so sick, and I knew. I knew what was happening. He had severe pancreatitis, and like when he stopped
girl, we went through pancreatitis. It was the worst.
when he stopped eating, and he started, I mean, this was the sweetest dog there ever was, but when he started trying to bite me when I would give him his medicine, I was like, all right, all right.
Yeah,
And I collapsed in the kitchen floor, and I lost it.
yeah,
Because it was like, what else? Like
right,
one more thing, like what else?
right.
And that's when I got to the point is I started praying, and I started just like telling everybody, no, nothing. I want nothing to happen. I want no other major, nothing to happen ever again. I need a break. And you get to that point after a while.
You do. But you also you get to that point at many points along the way. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's more overwhelming than others. So you still get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have now been talking for 2 hours.
It was good though.
I know.
I think I told you over text. I was like, is it bad to be excited to talk about something that's so sucky? But
Yeah.
it's definitely healing to be able to speak to somebody who gets it. And I think too that the whole road that you've gone with becoming certified in grief and helping other people and all of that kind of thing, I think that's very, very admirable. I don't know that I've ever said that to you directly, but I do think it's kind of a very cool thing. I feel like once you go through it and you're like, man, if I could help somebody else go through it, I think that's where a lot of the reason of why we started reaching out to other families and that kind of stuff, right? You're like, gosh, if I can just make it a little bit easier, that would
Right.
be fantastic. So
Yeah.
I think that what you're doing and the work that you're doing is incredible. So,
Well, thank you.
of course.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the point where you just, yeah, like you say, if you can help one other person not to have to deal with this, not to have to go through, or if they are going through it, if you can just sit with them and be with them and,
Right.
just help them in some way. So, but, well, I
Well,
mean, and like,
kindness.
yeah, yeah. And everything that you and Christian have done too, whether it's to honor Mark or however you've honored his legacy. As a friend of Mark's, I appreciate, because I don't know. I mean, like you and I didn't know each other until after Mark died. Like
Correct.
we didn't, yeah, it took Mark passing away for you and I to become friends. So
We say all the time, I used to tell Christian all the time because he would focus on why did it have to be dad? Why couldn't it be somebody without kids? Why couldn't it be somebody else? Right. And I'd be like, look, you got to stop focusing on the things that were taken from you.
Mhm.
Focus more on the things that he left for you because he left so many fantastic blessings for us in people, in memories, in, all of these things. But there are so many people that I didn't know prior. And it's the same thing like being out at the cemetery every year, right? It's not just his Marines. It's everybody that he knew in every part of his life. And I feel like he just was that person that brought everybody together. So I'm super thankful too, because he has some really great friends.
Yeah.
And now I get to say they're mine,
Listen, Mark was the best. He really was. And I think I texted you and I told you, like, I mean, there is quite literally a day that goes by that I don't think about him. I mean, it's he is on my mind every day.
Yeah.
It's just he was, but that speaks to who he was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was hysterical. He never met a stranger. There are definitely certain things that I love and adore and I miss, like, to my very core. Like, I miss our conversations at 2 a.m. in the Waffle House, and I miss being able to just drive and talk about everything under the sun with a ridiculous playlist, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, all those little things that make you kinda go, "Yeah, he was a good one." You
Yep.
know?
He was. He
Yeah.
taught me how to play the drums
Oh, see?
in his dad's garage, and then his dad yelled at us. That's another good memory too. Anyway, thank you so much for talking to
Absolutely.
me. Like I really appreciate this. So, and like I said, I've been wanting to and I promised myself I wasn't going to cry throughout this. That's
Pretty good,
no,
man.
almost. Yeah, yeah, there was a close one a couple of times, but anyway, um, yeah, just thank you so much. I wanted to talk to you for a while. I mean, honestly, since I lost mom and dad, I wanted to talk to you because I felt like you got it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I and maybe erroneously, I thought there's somebody who's got it together with grief because nobody ever really has it together with grief.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm really good at the outer facing, facade. However, for the people that really know me, I definitely have tells,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I think that, like, you get to a point in a relationship where you know my tells and I would know your tells, like, that kind of thing, but you have all my contact information. I'm around anytime. I'll sit in the quiet. I'll watch a TV show with you from the phone. We can talk about it if you wanna talk about it. We can FaceTime. If you don't wanna FaceTime, we can talk on the phone. Like, I'm around anytime, anytime you need,
I
good, bad,
appreciate that.
ugly, you know what I mean? If I could take that one thing from Mark, that would be it. Like, the ability to talk to anyone, be there for anyone, brighten someone's day, like, do that kind of thing, and I do get it,
Yeah,
unfortunately, and you're not reminding me of anything, you're not,
right.
like, none of the things, so you definitely wouldn't have to worry about me either, but I'm really glad we got the chance to actually talk. This has been
Yeah,
very, very good, yeah.
yeah, me too. Yep. Well, thank you so much
Of
again.
course.
Okay. All right.
I'll talk to you
Bye.
soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.